Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for subscribing, and well, let's get to the information about what's happening in the world. Well, a letter released by Delcy Rodríguez, who would be, let's say, the interim president, right, in Venezuela. As part of this transition, she sends a letter to the United States, but she also says it's to the world, and in which, well, let's go into the details. But would she be waving the white flag, so to speak, already? She says to cooperate with the United States. According to what is known, there is the letter written in English and, well, obviously sent to the United States. Obviously, this is and would confirm what the New York Times was saying, right? The New York Times reported there had already been several contacts between Delcy and the United States, not in Qatar, and that they had reached an agreement. Well, if it was a transition, the agreements were not very clear yet. That yes, that if not, but it had been done through Qatar right now. Well, this would somehow confirm that this situation happened. Probably from before. I mean, the decision had already been made without Maduro obviously knowing it was apparently made beforehand. So what do you know? What's in the letter?
It shifted from, we're not going to be a colony, you handle it, here are the keys. And that's it. Venezuela, it says, reaffirms its commitment to peace and peaceful coexistence. Our country seeks to live free from external threats in a climate of respect and international cooperation. We believe that global peace is built by first ensuring the peace of each nation. We consider it a priority to move toward a balanced and respectful international relationship between the United States and Venezuela, and between Venezuela and the countries of the region. Thank you. Based on sovereign equality and non-interference, these principles guide our diplomacy, just like the rest of the countries in the world. We extend the invitation to the United States government to work together on a cooperation agenda aimed at shared development, to support lasting community coexistence within international law. President Donald Trump, our country and our region deserve peace and dialogue, not war. That has always been President Nicolas Maduro's stance, and it's currently Venezuela's position. That is the Venezuela I believe in and to which I have dedicated my life. My dream is for Venezuela to be a great power where all good Venezuelan men and women can come together. Venezuela has the right to peace, to development, and to its sovereignty and future. Delcy Rodríguez, Acting President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. A bit too ambiguous?
Ambiguous, if not completely.
She's buying time.
Totally unclear. I think she's stalling, but whatever. Some people say that this is not only a strategy to buy time, but also to make internal moves quickly enough to try to control possible internal splits. We have to remember and pay attention to what's been happening this afternoon with moves that are taking place or being carried out inside Venezuela with colectivos. We've been sent images that, well, obviously we can't reveal the source, nor are we going to, of course. But I do have images where you can see soldiers giving weapons to the colectivos, long guns. So obviously there's something going on inside here, and what they're saying to the outside is something very different. There's complete distrust of this movement from the YES side. They'd need to prove it to them. Besides, the whole thing about saying we're going to cooperate is very ambiguous. But does he keep mentioning that Maduro is the president? He keeps repeating that sovereignty comes first. First here, first there, he says. Well, in fact, it seems like it's not being understood, and besides, it's totally illogical to talk about sovereignty. When? Well, right now, they're basically, well, in a fight. There's a fight between two countries, a fight between the United States and Venezuela. In this case, at least with that regime's leaders. And obviously, well, what stands out here is also the way he makes the comment. There are, well, several images. I would like to show some of them and give you an idea of what has been observed on this topic, because it would show what we saw a while ago. Some groups, well, getting organized, some groups that would show some organization going on there. You sent me an image a moment ago and another showing many groups. I'm not sure if you sent that one to me. Yes, right? It's this one, isn't it? I mean, you can already see images like this one where they're all lined up. This is at Bellas Artes, or near there in Caracas at Bellas Artes. At 7 local time in Venezuela, you can see massive movements, large crowds. These motorcyclists are part of the regime and are often in charge of doing the dirty work. In which, well, now that they will be working, well, but let's go, okay? Relax. Calm is not what these groups project. Right now, we're going to see other images that have been shared with us, but obviously, well, it's something tremendous, isn't it? What else is known about this?
Well, we're also looking at this one. Tomorrow in the United States, there will be a meeting, they say extremely important, where the topic will be discussed. Venezuela will be at the capital. It will be at 5:30 p.m. That's Washington District of Columbia time. You'd have to check what time it is for each country. And well, it's going to happen. Marco Rubio, Pijas Pambondi, John Radcliffe from the CIA, and Dan Kane, And in the legislative branch, there will be the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. The Senate Armed Services Committee and the House Armed Services Committee. Now, what stands out is that they invited them to Congress because Congress was very upset. Because basically, well, they hid it from them, they hid it from the senators. What was going to happen in Venezuela? And well, Mike Johnson, who is the Speaker of the House, the President of the House, is going to go, and Jekam Jeffries, who is the Minority Leader, he's a Democrat, is going to go too. John Tern, the Senate Majority Leader, John Esty, Chuck Schumer from the Democrats. Rick Rafford, Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Jim Himes, Ranking Member of the House Intelligence Committee. Sam Cotton, Chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and Mark Warner, Ranking Member of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Let's see what happens there, because they really crossed the line, didn't they? Basically, with this decision, the Donald Trump administration, it's something that was already expected. But well, they've done it in an unexpected way.
In an unexpected way, and well, without telling anyone. Some congressmen agreed, some congressmen disagreed, but now they will be taken into account, at least for this. According to the reports, these images have been shown to us from several angles. So how is it? Well, let's see this movement. You can see these people who are coming in among the military and apparent civilians. They're unloading weapons from a car that's there in the back on the left, right? And there's a group of people on the right side who are receiving long guns. This is part of today's footage, which is supposedly from today. Obviously, right now in the middle of the chaos, it's hard to confirm if they're from today or not. Let's say, supposedly this is happening. Obviously, there are also more images with long guns on Twitter and other social media today. In different reports, these operations by these groups with long guns were seen in various locations. Here, people from Venezuela also wrote to us, warning us about what's happening with these kinds of movements, with groups that act like gangs, sometimes like paramilitaries. I mean, come on, these are terrible situations. Now, the New York Times report stated that Delcy Rodríguez was almost in an agreement, but the agreement wasn't reached. I mean, according to them, the agreement didn't end up coming together. It didn't end up being achieved. But there was already an approach. Does that mean that they were already trying to make contact? Outside of, or considering a Maduro, let's say, outside of, well, the regime, basically no. So, well, who knows how far this is going to escalate? Yes, if the agreement they're trying for, yes, is just words, or are they really going to look for coordination? For a transition, he doesn't mention transition in the message.
No, he doesn't talk about transition. No, I mean, does he still refer to Maduro as president? She, interestingly, something that some experts have commented on is that she is already being declared interim president. That's the title they're using, but with a different article than the one that requires her to hold elections within 30 days. Right now, she's in a mode, let's say, instead of using Article 228, she used 229, which allows her to extend her presidency for 90 days. I mean, the best one there
is to buy time for 90 days and not make any moves.
And what if she could stay there for a while? Well, because I thought she was only going to be there for a little while and then elections would be held.
Let's listen to Donald Trump talking about the issue of Venezuela.
The next question is, who's in charge of Venezuela right now? Have you spoken to the newly sworn-in president there, Rodriguez, and what are your thoughts on the entire situation? You said the United States would control Venezuela?
We're dealing with the people. We're dealing with the people that just got supported. Don't ask who's in charge, because my answer will be very controversial.
Does that mean it means
We're in charge?
Do you have the next question?
Okay, I did it, of course. No beating around the bush. We're in charge of Venezuela? No, because he asks her about Delcy Rodríguez and says maybe she shouldn't ask since it could be controversial. And he says, what's the answer? And he says, well, that we are in charge. I mean, they are in charge of Venezuela. At least that's what Donald Trump claims. And, well, there's also another audio that's relevant. Let's listen to it right away, shall we? From whom?
From Colombia.
From Cuba.
From Cuba. Yes, sometimes, and that's when what happened to me occurred.
Let's listen to an audio that has to do, but with Cuba. Listen to the following Donald Trump.
How have you seen it? That Cuba is ready to fall, you know? Cuba seems like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they can hold on, but Cuba...
Says Cuba, well, it's about to fall. It's on the verge of falling. There's no way it can be sustainable. He only had one strong source of income, which was from Venezuela. Now he has no income. And so he says Cuba would be about to fall. Let me check if anything else is missing from the audio. Hold on, I'll let you know what it says.
And there are many great Cuban Americans who are going to be very happy.
He says, well, basically it's that Cuba is about to fall, and there are many Cuban Americans in the United States who would be very happy about this situation.
For example, some experts had already said the sanctions alone would be enough. Because of the oil tankers, the Cuban government was already in trouble since they could no longer access oil from Venezuela. Another notable point is that many of those reportedly lost their lives, which has been said to be true because the real number is 40, but the government hasn't officially given a number. But out of those 40 who reportedly lost their lives in Venezuela, 32 would be Cubans who died in combat, who were basically in charge of Nicolas's security.
Most of those who died were actually Cubans.
They were Cubans out of the 40, not 32 Cubans. A decree was issued by the office of President Miguel Díaz-Canel, where he declared 2 days of national mourning, indicating that the Cubans present in Venezuela, and they fell after a fierce resistance in direct combat against the aggressors, and as a result, the bombing of facilities. But anyway, it's said that there are still other military personnel there waiting because the government of Venezuela hasn't. Official numbers? No.
They haven't released them, but right now it's officially 40. I have other sources that mention 20 more, so that would be 60. But since this isn't confirmed, we'll be keeping an eye on this important matter. Well, that's the situation. We'll be keeping an eye on the topic. But it's clearly part of what's happening. It's a situation, let's say, along the lines of yes, well, yes, let's just say it. The surreal thing is that, at least at this point, it didn't seem like everything would be spinning so fast. But the situation has sped up. Here, jokingly, people would say, and who's next? Nicaragua or Cuba or this one? Well, it seems like it, right? It seems like it. I mean, well,
there are two
on the list without really having to do much, because this is obviously already a crisis on top of a crisis, not just a crisis on a crisis. So it's obviously tremendous. And well, let's move on to other topics, other important matters as well. Notice there's another interesting comment and audio clip. This is an audio from over there in the United States from Donald Trump, but in this one he makes a comment about Colombia.
About Petro?
About Petro. Let's hear it.
run by a sick man, likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. He won't be doing it much longer, let me tell you.
Does that mean he's not going to be doing it very long?
He's not doing it very long. He has cocaine mills and cocaine factories. He's not going to be doing it very long.
There will be an operation by the United States.
And it sounds good to me.
Well, if you want,
All right. He says Colombia is led by a very sick man, clearly referring to Gustavo Petro without naming him. He accused him of making and selling what he claims was cocaine, but says it wasn't always that way. And in this, the reporter asks him if there will be a United States operation in Colombia, and he says, well, that sounds pretty good to me. Today, Petro spoke out boldly again, making more comments, right?
yes, exactly. As long as he doesn't start singing Crazy War,
Yes, pull out machetes, but just don't sing.
yes, comment whatever he wants, but just don't sing Crazy War because he really gets intense. Trump too well anyway, on to other matters. Edmundo Gonzalez, the candidate and president-elect of Venezuela, who had to flee that country with 70% of the votes in his favor, had to run away. Right now he's giving a message, yes.
Exactly, a message where he reminds us that there can't be a truly democratic transition if all the political prisoners currently held by Chavismo are not released. Among them, his son-in-law, by the way, who has been there for more than a year for no other reason than being Edmundo Gonzalez's son-in-law. And well, he reminded us of this, right? He also reminded us that they won by a majority. Because at the end of the day, even though Trump and Marco Rubio say, well, this is short term, I don't know what, they already went through an election and they already won it.
And well, this message is released at the moment it had to be, right? I mean, it had to be released. Obviously, the message is, well, something that Marco Rubio was talking about today. He thinks this is fantastic.
And that he has known her for years.
This Maria Corina, who is fantastic, a great person, I don't know what else, and she's a Nobel Prize winner, whatever you want. But, well, they look at the short term. I mean, they look at how things are being handled right now. Who's the one they can put in charge? Like, just like that quickly? This, well, obviously makes you suspicious because there are already reports. There are reports from United States media that claim the intention would be, well, to leave a Delcy or someone from the regime in charge. And that would be, well, a very strange point, right? Where you leave a regime there.
And in the end, you leave the people with the same government. Horrible. One that doesn't care about its people.
Exactly. So it's very clear that there are interests here that go beyond democracy or economic interests. We'll see. Hopefully everything turns out well because what's important is the people. But obviously there's fear that this could be different and that there won't be any progress. Let's say exactly as one would like.
And another topic that draws attention, in the end, these wars also serve as a test for many of the weapons that are being developed. It's a Chinese anti-stealth radar that failed in Venezuela, and this has been widely shared in Taiwanese media. Well, they are one of the main ones concerned about a war, a confrontation with China, and well, as far as we know, a Chinese-made radar failed in Venezuela during the United States operation. This Saturday, the United States managed to neutralize Venezuela's air defenses and capture its leaders in less than 30 minutes. I think the whole thing, everything, lasted about an hour and a little bit more, but they had them really quickly. And the Chinese-made systems had been promoted as the most powerful air defense system in South America. It didn't work, obviously. However, after the failure, some have considered them just an expensive decoration.
Well, no, they were useless. And this one?
Is China thinking about what changes it's going to make?
What changes it's going to make there? Why? Besides, these helicopters they used are helicopters that have a very interesting anti-attack system. I mean, you know, a while ago we saw a testimony. It's just that we've been shown a lot of very harsh images. Extremely harsh.
Yes, of everything.
Like, it's like everything. Literally everything as it was left. But there's a person, a soldier who was in a hospital. We saw the test and heard this person's testimony. And he says he was going to fire with the javelin. I think that's what it was. He was going to shoot at the helicopters. And suddenly he heard a kind of whistling sound, right? He only heard that, and then suddenly the bombs started to fall. Those helicopters also have a system underneath with a laser, so he says that with that, they can detect any shot being fired at them. And you know how some of them use something like flares, right? Yeah, but these in particular have another system. They launch some super hot things, but they don't shine, so you see the plane flying at night and you never see where they are. Because really the launches of these small objects are super hot, but they don't shine. So does he tell you that the radars or it's more like the heat sensor that follows the missile? Well, it goes another way and fires at these small, let's say, hot objects they launch, and then they collapse. And several technologies were also tested, which they haven't told us about. We only know that several technologies were tested. Within this movement, well, let's say there are secret weapons involved in the use of these movements. But so far, at least that's what they've said. So are you speculating right now?
Yes, for example, Trump claims they used something to turn off all the lights in southern Caracas. Well, in a video from a streamer who's recording live from their phone, and literally, just like that, in a second, everything goes completely black. Yes.
Exactly. So they used, let's say, this kind of weapon. You have to be alert to all of this. Let's move on to other topics.
Just this one? One should remember that tomorrow, Maduro and his wife Celia will have their first appearance at the federal court in Manhattan. Right now, he is in the same prison where Luigi Mandione is, where Pufdari is too, or whatever you call him, because he used to change his name to Odiri all the time. Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's ex-girlfriend, was also in that same prison. Chapo Guzman was also there, and one of the terrorists, well, the one who survived, just the terrorist from the Boston case, the Boston Marathon, the younger one. Well, some really notorious people have been there. Sam Backman is also in this prison, the one from the cryptocurrencies. Ah, perfect. He's there too.
It's the only federal prison in New York, right? Exactly. So? Well, yes, there have been really all kinds of people, yes.
And well, right now, the one who's really upset is Nicolas's son, who they call Nicolasito. Well, he has basically been furious trying to find out who the traitors were, the ones who were working for the CIA.
Who's working for the CIA? That's likely what those closest to him are wondering. Maduro's relatives, those in his closest circle, are probably trying to find out who it was, but they might also have their days numbered. Also in the legal sense, discussing the possibility of taking action against some of Maduro's close associates or family members.
Yes, well, one of the accusations is against him. It's just a matter of catching him and he'll go just like his father, exactly. The thing is, I think Nicolasito Maduro is probably losing power now since his father is gone.
No, it's totally different now. The guy has already fallen. So, the rest could obviously get complicated, especially for those closest to him, for his family members, especially if he really wanted to negotiate. Rodriguez, I still have many doubts about whether he truly wants to do it. But anyway, let's move on to other important matters happening in the world. Hey, so let's move on to other matters. What's happening in Iran is really catching my attention because, well, I went out, I walked there to begin with. I would be about to leave the country. I went out, I walked, and I would be preparing my departure, my escape. Because of how things are in the late afternoon, I told you that there were 174 cities and towns that have been, well, protesting. But it's already huge, like riots and rebellion, right? Well, that has skyrocketed in just a few hours. Right now, the situation has escalated. The situation is tremendous. Unfortunately, they're also attacking more people. They're shooting more people. There are more victims, unfortunately, and it's totally getting out of control. Let's go into the details of what's happening. Look, I walked, and I would already have an escape plan. This would be towards Russia. According to a leaked report, the supreme leader is already preparing his escape to Moscow, according to the intelligence report cited by the Times. This guy, I went out, I walked. The so-called supreme leader claims that he has an escape plan ready in case the massive protests continue to get out of control, and it totally seems like they're gonna keep getting out of control. Unfortunately, there are already 20 people who have lost their lives, including members who are close to him, close to this person, close to this one. I went out, I walked. They have also basically been persecuted now. The news comes in a context of strong social tensions, where, well, also the capture of this issue, the capture of Maduro, it could mean a domino effect on other issues, not just toward Cuba and the region, but it could mean other situations as well. In the media, they report it in a very different way. The issue of North Korea, it seemed to me that the launch of these 2 missiles by North Korea was like a strategy. It's like saying, I'm alert and able to fire. Because in the end, well, it's another person who was also mentioned a lot yesterday, since everyone was talking about Maduro. Plan B suggests the regime no longer fully trusts its internal repressive apparatus. I mean, many of the military groups, which are usually extremely harsh against the population, are much calmer now. And look, the 20 people who have lost their lives sounds really bad, but at this point, in other protests, we've talked about hundreds of people, either injured or killed. In other years, when there have been strong attacks for fewer disturbances than this, they have been much more repressive. We have to remember what happened when that young woman took off her veil in front of the police, right? The amount of repression that happened afterwards, from that point on, I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back for the people of Iran, because from then on, the discontent was constant. And they had to start changing internally. They changed presidents to a president who was a bit more moderate. There was a change in the law in October of last year to see if that would calm things down, where they no longer detain women over the issue of the veil, at least in theory. But the distrust that exists is because right now, these repressive groups, especially those in the army close to him, is this Revolutionary Guard the one led by the Ayatollah making the army powerful and large? They don't have the capabilities anymore. And even if they did, who would they shoot at? Their own children. Their own relatives, their own neighbors, because it's themselves who are protesting. I mean, it's their own families, many of them. There have been many cases of injured people who are actually close to the regime. There's a real desire for change inside. Khamenei has wanted to publicly downplay the unrest, but at the same time has indicated that repression will be increased. The situation also coincides with 2 covert operations, some of which are favorable to the regime in an attempt to target these groups. There is currently intelligence from countries favorable to Iran, which are trying to attack those who are protesting in order to support the regime. And now, on the other hand, there are also operations by groups that are enemies of Iran, who are operating against Iran and supporting the protests. There is a war there. Basically, there is an internal war, a rather intense hybrid war that is taking place in Iran. But that's what people are experiencing. I mean, the war part is happening in certain key places that are like that. But on a national level, look at how many areas are already involved in the conflict. I'm sure they're being reported. There are 20 people dead, 50 injured. In 8 days, the protests went from 174 localities to 222 localities across the country, 222 localities, 78 cities, 26 provinces, and other regions. Smaller little areas, really rural now, but what's been happening is impressive. 76 cities, localities already spread out into even smaller ones. Out of the 20 who died, 1 was a police officer and 19 were civilians, correct? Among those 19 civilians are young women, young men, and a 15-year-old boy. The harshest repression happened in Malakashay. Malakacha is indeed a province of the IAM, where the security forces had eliminated people in that area only. 5 were killed and 30 injured in one day. That wasn't with blows or rubber bullets, it was with literal real weapons. I mean, with live ammunition. Students and universities are at the forefront. There are reports of student protests at 17 universities. There's a growing youth activism in Iran and brutal repression. The Grand Bazaar, this big market that's in Iran, which is currently closed. By the way, have you been there? The merchants have always been supportive of the regime, and as we've already mentioned this time, they are completely against the regime, and so they're getting angrier and angrier, more and more. Right now, there have also been internet outages, internet blockages, and blockages of certain websites. In many regions, communication in general is becoming difficult. For example, sending information, even by text messages, is failing. They are seeking total control over the population at this moment. Meanwhile, the exiled prince prays to Pahlavi, paid tribute to the fallen, and promised justice. He says, "We will find and punish those responsible." And well, on the other hand, the Kurdish leader Abdullahi Mahdi also condemned the regime. Thank you. We'll have to see what Syria says, what Lebanon says, what Israel says. So what's going to happen with all the people who are there, with all the countries that are in Iraq itself, right? Pakistan. On the other hand, what positions are they going to take in that regard? According to reports, there are 582 arrests, and out of those 582, are minors. Many of them are from Yasuj and other cities like Sbersban, Isfahan, and Sagada. Although, well, they are in this crisis. Meanwhile, another crisis is unfolding. The currency is nearly worthless. And the crisis, well, the one we already know about regarding water, right? That's another situation. And this year is expected to be the worst year in terms of the water crisis. That's going to be a really tough issue. But anyway, let's move on to another topic about Iran. But it's really serious, isn't it? I mean, these protections are spreading almost all over the country now. Are the NATO countries preparing for a conflict in the Arctic? You might think about the Baltic. Well, according to reports, NATO countries are anticipating that the challenges are not coming in the Baltic, but rather in the Arctic. The report states that NATO is seeking to shield itself against a possible war in the Arctic, where more than 2,000 Patriot 6x6 armored vehicles have reportedly been produced at maximum speed to have not only this type of weaponry and armored vehicles ready. Let's see if we have the image of these 6x6s here. No, so they're not 4x4s, they're 6x6s. It's these vehicles, yes, smaller, no, there it is. This type of vehicle is being assembled rapidly in the program that started in 2020, a collaboration between Finland and Latvia. This military consortium, which includes Sweden, Germany, Denmark, the United Kingdom, and Norway, has been placing multi-million-dollar orders. Germany became the largest buyer with an order of 876 units for $2.3 billion. Sweden reportedly ordered 415 of these units and Denmark 129. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom and Norway are negotiating their entry to also acquire this type of weaponry. But that's only for one vehicle type. The multi-million-dollar orders cover other sections. At least 42 of their vehicles have also been sent to Ukraine by Latvia, by the way, where they have been deployed to cross tundras. For example, to withstand landmines, which also have the ability to withstand artillery fire, they also have anti-artillery capability. This Patria design, an armored vehicle from the Finnish company, is a 6x6, especially effective in deep snow, in swamps like those found in Ukraine, throughout the eastern part, and also on frozen terrain. They move efficiently, have strong internal features, and can transport 10 soldiers. Besides resistance to mines and artillery, it allows for mounting heavy weaponry. In addition, it's amphibious, it can operate on water without any problem, and even function at minus 40 Fahrenheit. That's basically like being at the North Pole. Well, this, along with the addition of drones now, it's going to bring drones right there to deploy a whole series of amazing things. They show that the goal is that by a year from now, 2027, everything could already be operational. There are many theories about whether they're going to try to make a move toward the Baltic or a move toward the Arctic. But either of those places would involve an armed conflict between NATO and Russia. Let's hope it doesn't reach that level, but obviously the intention seems to be heading that way in this area, which is the most problematic zone right now. In terms of war potential, now talking about global levels, what's going to be happening over there?
Today it is reported that just like that, Ukraine has used car bombs, especially in Moscow in the Kremlin. Well, today, a Ukrainian soldier was injured by a car bomb explosion in Kyiv. That's what the police report. They are investigating the attack. The vehicle exploded in the Obolonsky district when the soldier opened the trunk of his car. According to the person in charge of the investigation, he says a preliminary investigation into the explosion has been launched. Classified under Section 1 of Article 158 of the Ukrainian Penal Code, which is considered an act of terrorism. That is, the commission of an explosion or other action that endangers the life or health of people. Well, that's something that is being investigated at this moment. Russia also has its spies, not its saboteurs, inside Kiev.
Isn't it true there are internal wars there, including intelligence? Greetings to Luis. How have you been, Robel? It's good to know you're well, Robel. How have you been? They asked about that earlier. Hi, Adelson. How are you? Ofe Mendez, very good greetings to Francisco Arce, to the whole community that's watching us. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, so what's going to be there?
We also have audio from Putin and Trump, where Trump is asked about Putin. About the issue of the drones that had attacked, well, that according to him had attacked his residence, one of his residences, because he has many residences.
Well, according to what Trump says, according to Trump, the attack didn't happen. The attack on the house. And that's what we were telling you here, right? It was clear that it was made up. Because even that same day, when they released the whole report, there were drones everywhere, except in the area of the house where Putin's mansion is. So suddenly it's like they brought that up, bro. Didn't they bring up that supposed attack on Putin's house just because it was convenient? Even Trump started going along with it since Morita got involved. He just follows whatever Russia says. But at some point, it's like they pulled his ear and said there's no evidence of any attack on Putin's house. And now does he acknowledge this trauma? Or the audio, because I don't have it, I lost it, but it would be good to listen to it just to see how the situation was. Because there, as they say, or they wanted to push this narrative that there was, well, a gunshot. Ukraine says it did not target Putin's residence in the drone attack, as the Kremlin claims. President Donald Trump told reporters today that security officials from the United States determined that Ukraine did not attack a residence belonging to President Vladimir Putin in a drone attack last week. Well, let's listen to this audio.
The president of Ukraine, Zelensky, if he was the one who carried out that attack at the residence.
I doubt that attack would happen.
So Putin said on that phone call to you that the attack happened. See, he went out and said that. Did you believe Putin? Was there any criticism?
There was something that happened pretty close by, but it had nothing to do with that.
What do you think? Does he say? Well, you were angry with Zelensky because he supposedly fired at Putin's house? He says, well, that never happened. And he says, well, that something happened nearby, but it had nothing to do with drones attacking Putin's house. Basically, with that, this whole idea that he says falls apart. I don't think that attack happened, Trump told reporters while traveling back to Washington on Sunday. Remember that Trump was at Mar-a-Lago over there in Florida?
He literally just saw Zelensky.
Exactly, I don't mean this moment. He's at Mar-a-Lago and they're already heading back to Washington.
And over there,
Yes, that's where all this is mentioned, where the trip to Washington happens. That's where this topic is brought up. So, well, it's also important. And, well, since we're on this topic, the Latvian police are also involved to look into this matter. The Latvian police boarded a ship after a telecommunications cable was broken in the Baltic Sea. Once again, these kinds of incidents where apparently there are some sort of hybrid attacks, this time in this region. Let's see if we can see it there on the screen in this area here in Latvia, but in the Baltic Sea, the Latvian police would have made this move. The submarine telecommunications cable was damaged this weekend in the Baltic Sea. The investigators started to look at which ship had passed through there to determine who had destroyed this ship. This submarine cable break in telecommunications, according to reports, they found a ship that would be involved. I think it's this one right here, and there it is. Well, this ship that stops it. Now, from what is known, the National Crisis Management Center of Lithuania stated that the cable goes from Esvento and from Lithuania to Lespaha or Lebaha. This is also right there in Latvia. These two coastal cities, about 65 kilometers, 40 miles apart, are connected by a cable. For now, it's not clear whether the ship had anything to do with this or not, since it still needs to be investigated. And we'll be talking more about this later on. In other more detailed information about what might be coming in January, it's confirmed that the January slump is coming. Problems when it comes to financial matters can be very common because of expenses, because suddenly there's a little less work or whatever it may be. But here are some tips, and hopefully you can leave some other tips written in the comments about what you recommend doing. Dealing with the January slump, which usually brings many expenses.
well, everything goes up.
Lower prices, rising expenses, inflation, etc., right? Here are some points for you to keep in mind. These points. What they're trying to do is prevent the January slump from being too harsh, right? So getting through the first quarter, January, February, March, as smoothly as possible, and then tackling the rest of the year with more strength, right? First point. The first thing is, it's important to know clearly how much income is real, how much you're actually spending, and above all, how much you need to write down. Write down all your income, rent, electricity, water, even some variable things like entertainment, right? For example, today you know that, well, where you can cut back a little in the first month if you want to, just to take things a little easier. That way you can see more clearly where the money is leaking and where there are real opportunities to make adjustments, so it doesn't feel so overwhelming, right?
And number 2 would be to prioritize high interest debts, those that multiply really quickly and increase a lot. If you don't pay and you can't make credit card or loan payments, for example, in January, the interest can make your debts grow really quickly, so focus on paying them off. First, the ones with the highest interest rates, while you keep up with the minimum payments on those that don't have such high interest.
For example, in January, it's highly recommended to already have your budget planned out at least roughly for the whole year. If you're going on vacation or if you have a major expense, or maybe your son is going to start college or anything else that might come up. If you need to pay for something or have plans, just go ahead. You need to plan, redesign the budget for the entire year, 2026, make small adjustments, and also focus on the goal you have. Hey, if my goal was to travel to a certain place or whatever, well, okay. Also start setting goals on how to generate more resources. That's also important when planning for how 2026 is going to be. sometimes taking certain breaks, maybe canceling a subscription, like I've already watched everything on Netflix, now I'll switch to home box office, or maybe I just won't watch any streaming platforms. Also avoid, well, that's it.
And well, save, even if it's just a little. I mean, even if sometimes it seems super hard, like where do you want me to save from? Well, save, even if it's just 5%, 10%, something, just to start building this emergency fund. Also, building the habit is often the hardest part. There are several ways to do it automatically. For example, Banorte offers an automatic option. Telet, okay, transfer 500 pesos every January 20th, every payday, etc. And it does it automatically in a section.
Those sections are great because I don't know if several banks use them or if this one does.
I think so.
Just imagine in those sections you don't even see it. I'm not telling you.
Right? It doesn't exist.
Because it's like a separate account folder, not like a file. And there I'll have a strict one, a small cash box, if you will. And look, that's where there's an emergency, or this is for savings, long term, whatever. But there you have those sections, right? You don't see them anymore because suddenly you start taking from the little money you have there. And then suddenly, well, that's it. Where's my savings? I was supposed to be saving, but not anymore because you spent it because you saw it was there, right? Even if you take your debit card and deposit it in the bank, what's in the separate section doesn't show up. So that's super important to keep in mind too. Well, right now, avoid toxic loans. There are a ton of apps that every day, I don't know if it happens to you, but for me, it happens every day. Like, hey, I'll give you 10,000 pesos. Well, not give, but I'll lend you 10,000 pesos. With high interest, it could be 20,000 or more, right? First of all, I'm not even asking for it. So if I'm not asking, why are you offering it to me in the first place? And secondly, what's up with that? Well, out of curiosity, you check to see how much the interest is, and it's insane. I mean, those interest rates should be criminal. I don't know, maybe they are. I don't know, maybe someone who knows about that part of the cycle could tell us.
Well, they're the ones they call cuentabotas, and they're also really aggressive.
Also very aggressive, exactly. But avoiding toxic loans would also be ideal right now, especially because, well, the interest rates end up screwing you over. Well done.
Exactly. And well, a very important topic is to start not only adjusting in January, but also planning for the whole year, right? I want to see which expense will be bigger this year, 2026. For example, the enrollment and the first payment for my son's school, which will be in August, let's say. Well, yes, around February. No, in February. It's the enrollments. And that's how you start marking on your calendar the months when there are expenses that you know are coming and that are going to happen, well, significant.
Exactly. Well, now we're getting a little into more advanced levels, but they're also easy to use. Because before, if you wanted some advice, well, it was complicated, it was free, it was expensive, and no, I mean, it wasn't free unless you had a friend who knew about the topic. But now there are many tools for financial advice. I mean, there are all kinds of tools. I would say look for several, right? And even with artificial intelligence now, there's plenty of information online with many skilled content creators specializing in that topic. You just need to check carefully as they're very responsible when offering tips. So I think you just have to look. If I don't know how much I've saved by now, then I don't have it. And if not, let's see why, or maybe not. What are the saving strategies? There are a lot of ways to save. And they help you breathe a little deeper, feel more comfortable, let's say, sleep better every day. Now, find these tools that are also available to manage payments. There are tools that even remind you of tips, give you advice, and provide information based on your goals. For example, if my goal is, let's say, a really simple goal, right? All the loose change, coins, or even 20 peso bills, whatever it is. I'm going to collect the smallest amounts in this little box or in this piggy bank, and then I'll deposit it into a savings account, whatever it is. Do you put all those kinds of details in there? Remind me that I have this goal, and that way you keep achieving your goals. Well, basically in a few years, and the years go by quickly, you can have quite a significant savings. So that's it. If it's possible, what else?
Another key point is to shift your mindset about consumption. I'm not saying I won't have anything, but really, I mean, what you spend should be because of a need. I mean, not just because I want to, but if I really need it or for a specific goal. Don't let social pressures sway you, like feeling you must attend a party with people you don't know or bring a gift. Another party after another, and I have to wear new clothes. Are you just making things up? The point is, well, that it's really a need or that it's a goal. For example, a tool for software that's better, software for entertainment, like let's say an app, let's say a Netflix or an app that's going to help me at work. Yes, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think right now there are many ways to achieve realistic financial goals. And there's a point, and we'll wrap up with this one because I find it super interesting, but it's one of the ones that works best for me. Awakened, right? In finance, these things don't exist. It's very common for people to compare themselves. So I'm very common. Hey, that buddy, he already achieved this goal, and this one already has investment. This other one achieved this goal. And today you realize you wish you had someone else's goal, but the other person has already achieved it. But it's normal, right? Maybe not with other goals, but yes.
But with social media, it's easy to compare.
But today they're doing well. They've reached the same goal I had, only faster. Well, don't compare the process. Each family has its own situation, and what you see often doesn't reflect reality. Absolutely no one's financial reality. So don't measure yourself based on what someone else has already done or what you haven't been able to do or anything like that. Are your goals personal for one reason or another? You go at your own pace, sometimes faster and sometimes slower, but the pace you go at is your own pace. There's a reason things are happening that way, and seeing what works for you and what doesn't, in the end, it's a constant learning process. I talk about it with friends who are more or less from my generation, and every day, every month, after many have already spent decades in different businesses, I mean, every day they learn, every day they face complicated situations, or nobody has it easy. I mean, really, there might be some who do, but come on, people who are looking for goals, who are trying to succeed, right? They don't have it as easy as they often seem to, or as it often appears. Yes, and we've talked about it because among friends, we've had tough times at certain moments, or had a big debt, or whatever. And we all agree that one of the things that affects us the most is that comparison. Not saying, man, that friend, that relative, they've already sent their kids to study somewhere or achieve something, I don't even know what. And suddenly, well, it gets you down, right? People kind of feel a little bad. We have to get rid of that. We have to get rid of that thing and go at our own pace, right? Each of us should go at our own pace. Move forward and not let January or the tough months, because for many people, January is a bad month, right? January is often viewed negatively because it starts with many expenses. I'm not sure if this happens everywhere, but I assume it does. Because of the holidays and Christmas and here and there, it's like you spend more and often without control, right? And many times too. It's like at the end of the year, you treat yourself, you give yourself gifts and things like that. And then the first comes, the year starts, and it's like you go in empty-handed with nothing left. It's not exactly complicated all of a sudden, but, well, I'm sure you all have a lot of great tips, and it would be awesome to see your comments. Exactly me. With this video, we cut it and upload it separately with some editing or something for the community that's interested in the topic. That's one of the goals. Also to try to comment a little more on the financial side. I feel like here in the Hispanic world in general, it's almost frowned upon to talk about money. Discussing financial matters is frowned upon, which I think limits us by preventing open conversation. You see it with content creators. Almost everyone talks very openly about whether they make this much, if they lose that much, like they just say it. And here, it's like nobody says whether they made a single peso or lost it. Nobody wants to say it because all of that is taboo. I mean, money is almost taboo for a lot of people. So, well, that's how things are. I think we need to get rid of those things that hold us back. But anyway, let's move on to other important topics. Let's take a look at some strange things that are circulating on the internet. Yes. How have you been? How's it going? What's new? How was your weekend? I hope you're doing well. There are some habits.
Panterita says, yes, habits.
Habits make the monk, as they say out there, yes.
Also, like financial education. No, there isn't much of that here in Mexico.
Yes.
Yes. Greetings to Jorge Herrera from Salinas, Ecuador. They go into debt pretending to be someone they're not, so after the holidays, they're afraid the next year. Yes, of course. A lot of people say, I have to fulfill this, right? And well, they don't have it. And they go into debt for something that often ends up in the trash. You say that people go into debt because the gift might just end up in the trash.
Yes. Credit shouldn't be used for that. And you're absolutely right. It is. I don't know. I even feel like, I don't know if it happens to you here. I've also been talking about that with friends this year. And have you noticed that here in Latin America, and I think in Spain too, more or less the same. But it's like in the Hispanic world, we're not really, we're supportive, we help each other out. Yes, that's true, but it's rare to actually form a team when it comes to business, among friends, among people. Well, this is kind of strange, isn't it? I started thinking I should have friends who do new things together, and that's it. I have a friend who I know has done business with friends, and I know it's gone well for him. Right? I asked him not to ask.
I've lost track of it after a while.
Since then, I've asked several people, and they've all said no, it hasn't happened to them or even crossed their minds. And do you have friends you could trust with it? Your life, sure, but not for business. It's really strange, but it's like not for business. They even tell you it's so the friendship doesn't get lost. And why would the friendship get lost then? Wasn't it friendship? It's really strange. But we would have to change certain ways of thinking that have really limited us. And if you look at other countries, how is it? How did Google start and how did all these companies come about? It was a group of friends who got together to do a project and basically change the world, right? The movie we watched about BlackBerry, which I highly recommend, it's about a group of geeks.
Chaotic?
Totally chaotic nerds. And I'll say it again because the whole movie is very well handled in that chaos you feel among friends. And at some point they have to get serious, but the company is already amazing. They need to get serious eventually, since the company must exist and keep growing. We couldn't keep playing, but I kept playing anyway. That's why I feel there's a big difference. Some projects succeed while others don't. And here in Mexico, it does happen. It is possible, but it's not as common as in other places, right? And it seems that over there, the non-president of Venezuela, it looks like they've already put him in. He's already installed.
His name is Donaldo Trumpo.
Trompo.
Trumpo.
Hello, friends. I am your new president, Mr. Donaldo J. Trumpo. Your ex-president, Mr. Maduro, is no longer your president. He kept talking shit, messing around, though, and he ultimately found out that anyway. We're going to make Venezuela great again, very great, bigger and better than ever before. We're going to drill, have a big party, and enjoy all the tacos you want.
A lot of mariachi, he says.
And sexy ladies and delicious margaritas. And President Trumpo is going to be a disc jockey. Okay, thank you very much, guys, and let's make
the former President Trumpo. He's going to be a disc jockey, so that means Maduro would actually go get a disc jockey job. Yes?
Venezuela great again. Go Venezuela, friends.
He mixes things up with Mexico, with Venezuela, with the United States. Well, obviously not in today's times. Or the more news there is, the more memes they make. Isn't it impressive how many memes there are of all kinds? Some are risque, others chill, some lighter, some funnier, and some less so. No, honestly, but there's a bit of everything this season. Well,
that one isn't orange anymore. That's not blonde anymore. We're meeting up Pancho, Roble, Adelson, and heading to the corner where Raul will be. We'll all chip in for a beer, says Rubles. Is your team already there? Yes.
Greetings.
He greets Wyckoff and asks if he speaks Spanglish. Yes, he does. Maybe he's the president.
He's the president?
No way. And greetings to Benito. Greetings, Benito. I didn't fall. I didn't fall. Okay. I'm coming. I'm swimming. I've been drinking for over 40 years, but I'm getting there, all in due time. Greetings to Pantelita.
Greetings to Elvis. Elvis Cochita?
Greetings to Pantelita, he says. Exactly that, I say. You don't have to stick to just one way of thinking. We need to become more civilized. Greetings, Pantelita.
Hello, how have you been?
Very good, says Christy here. When we go on vacation somewhere, we start planning months in advance, and by the time the trip comes, it's already completely paid for. We prefer older cars and only have a mortgage. Very good.
Very good.
Very good, perfect, Christy. And it says here, Axelrod says, well, guilt comes from Catholicism compared to Protestantism because the United States developed differently from Hispanic America, like the rest of the economy, and from Catholicism. Link it to socialism?
Look, here's the thing. I don't know how he explains it, but I have a similar theory about Catholicism. They teach you a lot, a whole lot. That money now, not so much. That has been changing. But at the time, they basically told you that money was bad, that it was sinful, that it was a sin. That first, what passes through the needle, I don't know who that passes.
First, a camel passes through the eye of a needle before a rich man does.
Ah, exactly. I mean, those kinds of details don't help, right? So who would want to prosper? Well, no one, right? Well, if it's a sin and it's bad, you'll go to hell if things go well for you, so then no, right? But that was a way of thinking that was used a lot in Catholicism and became deeply rooted in society, right? And on the other hand, Christians took a different path, and you can see how in Christian countries, well, I don't know if they don't teach them that part. Like, basically, that money is bad. But I ask Astrid because her grandfather was a Protestant pastor. Protestant, so I mean, they have, and actually those from, and also as well, the tendency among Protestants was to have 1 or 2 children, while the tendency among Catholics was to have as many children as possible. Well,
they put it in one of those from Monty Python. You can barely see because you see that the Catholic neighbor has a bunch of kids and the Protestant has 2 or 3. They're very serious, have a nice house, but they're also really stiff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they criticize both sides, of course. Obviously, things have changed, and little by little, we hope that those ways of thinking will change too. It's not that one religion or another is bad or anything. It's just that there are cultural elements, that become rooted there. And surely there will be others, right? But this one, let's see, is Christian. Let's see. I find the Catholics with an H, right? Catholics.
Hello, Salvador David. How are you?
Yes, you can see it. It's really great. That's part of it. That's within the meaning of life.
Give me your heart, I will.
Yes, I think so. It's part of life's meaning. No. It's fine. About this episode, look, check it out. They're basically neighbors. Look.
So,
the family that's there, let me make it smaller. The sketch, what's it called, is really good, but it tells you a truth, right? I mean, up to a certain point, it doesn't say there it is. It says, look at him, bloody Catholic, right? He says it with the English accent, right? The Protestant who's in front of him, right? And then, well, he's making fun of them. He's making fun of the Catholics, saying there are so many of them. They're all here, stiff, alone. That's it, abandoned. And the Catholics, but the rich ones across the street, live in a very poor Catholic family full of kids. No, and everyone, well, without eating or anything, no, they're eating well, comfortably there, yes, and they're there mocking, puffing out their chests. He's the one who says, this is the man.
Women are always men. He's not an actor.
And this one, well, if you can, check out the episode. Well, if you can, check it out. The one from Camino Flash, which has a lot of sketches, it's a movie, but there are a lot of sketches where they make different critiques. Not just the financial system, but religion, whatever you want, right? Yeah.
For example, there's one, I don't remember which Monty Python movie it is, where they're interviewing the President of the United States in the Oval Office. And they say, no, we've already lowered it. Sorry, we've already expanded. We've increased jobs. And you can see that outside the White House, there's a line of people and this giant hole. And all the people are throwing themselves in to create jobs. I mean, they kill themselves so that there are people who can take their jobs.
I mean, so now there are fewer unemployed people, right? Because they are putting an end to unemployment. Yes, exactly. Well, yes, they are. They're parodies with things over there with what they call interesting messages. Funny, he says. Greetings.
Greetings, Dorian. What do the Pepis say? Dorian wants the United States to be like Cuba. Well, no, I don't see Trump being interested. I think he's just waiting for it to fall apart on its own.
Do you think so?
Yes, I think so.
It's not like, it's more like, well, kind of how they call it, like in an indirect way, right? Yeah, exactly, in an indirect way. Greetings, he says. It's not that the referee doesn't know boxing, it's a metaphor, says Carlos Martinez, a good referee, someone unfamiliar with boxing, right? Hi, how are you? Very good.
It's Irish versus English.
Uh-huh, yes, it's the Irish against the English, exactly this one.
Carlos Martinez asks, greetings to what? Greetings, Carlos. It's okay to joke about religion. We're not criticizing anything. Greetings to Wix, he says. Go ahead and give your tithe for those from the Church of the Light. I don't know. Yeah, just imagine.
Greetings, he says. To Chino Chicharito was forbidden from crossing himself when he played on Scottish teams against other Scottish teams. Wow, I had no idea. That's wild.
Says Raul Sachs. I used to be from the church Autistic Baptist, and no, he's not joking. He says my saint was Saint John the Autist.
Greetings, very good, he says. Okay, greetings, very good, Emma, Dorian, Raul. There's a movie, by the way, aside from... It's Japanese, an anime movie, not a series, right? And it was, huh? It's called 100 meters. Yes, it's called 100 meters. It's interesting. It's interesting. If you can check it out, we'll pause here. Let's see who's next. Asu Torito fell asleep. Wake up. Asu Torito, wake up. No. Okay, it says, how are you? Greetings. Very good, Jerez. Good evening to everyone, it says. Should I go back to the beginning, right? Great. So how have you been, Jerez? Check it out at the beginning, and here we are talking. Ricardo, how have you been? You too? Hello, Ricardo. Very good. So, which day do you want? Let's do a special, but about business. I mean, to talk more than just about the economy. Yes, to talk about small or big personal or close experiences, not about business topics. Here in Mexico, the good and the bad, so everyone can learn. It doesn't say exit, exit. Very good, Fernando Gutierrez. How have you been? Great, Fernando. What's new? How have you been? Greetings from the land of chocolate and Swiss knives too, right?
And you see how it is greetings of since she took office. He says she used to be likable, but now she's terrible. No, honestly, I've always found her terrible, but yeah, she started fighting with someone in Italy over the whole coup thing. Oh no, this greeting is for Alfonso Galloso. How are you? And for Dorian too. Pepe asks, what do you think of Stranger Things ending?
I'm going to tell you something. It's not the end. Greetings. That's my theory. It's not the end. This is a trick by Netflix to give you the real ending soon. 1 or 2 or 3 more episodes. Here are a few theories for you, okay? Those who paid attention or watched the series will recall several interesting points throughout. They have been very meticulous in making sure everything matches the era, yes. For example, the bicycles they used were obtained from collectors. They paid a lot of money to have bikes that are exactly from the era of the series. All the clothes, all the details, yes. And in this episode that was completely broken. For example, at the graduation, the people at the graduation are dressed in orange. That color wasn't used, it was used in the past. In Wagner's time, back in the 50s, what does bato mean?
Are you saying everything in a spoiler?
No, I'm not spoiling anything. I'm not spoiling anything. No, I'm not spoiling anything because that hasn't happened. Yeah, that hasn't happened at all. Everything that happens. A lot of things there match Wegner's mind. They don't match the reality of that place. There are scenes, just watch the last episode, where people turn to look at the camera. They're breaking the third wall, which isn't done throughout the whole series either. They're breaking the fourth wall. I mean, There are so many signs, right? What else? It's just that there are a bunch of them, because it's not just the ones that, I mean, I get the feeling there's a ton of people writing down every detail. Oh, in the books, you know how at the end they do a whole scene. Well, I better not spoil that part. I won't say anything, but there are things I can't say because I'd spoil them. What they do check carefully. What's happening is not reality. What's happening? There are characters who don't appear. There are situations, I don't want to say who, but they should have appeared. There are several situations there that would simply show that this isn't the case. I mean, and just to give you the last detail, they're indexed within the Netflix site, but from the page, 3 more episodes are indexed. If you search for it, you know? For example, on Netflix's Artist Episode 1, it shows Episode 1, 2, 3, and so on. Like that, right? Of all the seasons. When you get to the last episode and you add an extra episode, it shows you that there is one. Yes, there's an indexing for that. And then, but there's nothing. It shows you that the page exists, but there's nothing there. So after 3 episodes, you add a 4th, but nothing gets indexed. What does it mean if there are 3 more episodes? Another thing, every time there's an episode, they put up a post on Netflix, like a little box with the details. It tells you which episode it is. I don't know what, and they put it up for you, right? An episode, a black screen that Netflix didn't explain. After the last episode, they put a black screen that doesn't tell you anything else, right? It's around there. I think it's 7 days full, right? How is it with the every 7 days, the mind? How is the system?
I don't remember or really understand. It seems like it lasts 7 days each time.
I can't recall how the 7 days work. Does anyone remember? But there's an announcement that's going to be made on the 7th day exactly by Netflix, and we don't know what it is, about the topic of Stranger Things. So what if nothing happens on January 7th? Well, does that mean that all the theories circulating on the internet just fall apart? They're just hallucinations? That's what they are. They're hallucinations. But yes, right? If it didn't have a bad ending, I mean, it had an ending, right? I mean, no, I mean, like I said, it's not unusual for that to happen either. Netflix has done that before. They've already done it, right? Series where they say it's over and then later, no, it's not over. They release an extra episode, right? I think it's called Sandman or something like that. This series you mentioned did something similar, right? Yeah, so no spoilers. Please let everyone watch it on their own. But yeah, it's there, huh? Well, that's not what it says to me. No, for me, it didn't hook me. Stranger Things is already done for me. Okay.
Greetings to Joshua, who claims Cuba lacks resources of interest to the United States government. Is it hard for them to do anything for her? Greetings to Astrid and Pepe. Great work.
Yes, but it does have resources, you know? Yes, it has a lot of resources to begin with. I mean, no, yes.
Already an important position.
You don't need more resources. If it was just about that, Congo would already be taken, right? Congo is already full of resources. Someone said this afternoon, maybe Alex Gio, that Nicaragua lacks resources. Who said it doesn't have resources? I mean, that's ignoring all the mining that Nicaragua has. And Nicaragua is like this. Even under a dictatorial regime, despite all that, it's grown in recent years. 4, I mean, it brings growth. Let's say standard growth, right? I mean, no, we're not saying it's a rich country or anything, but it's a country that is experiencing growth. I mean, that's why, and it's really blocked, whatever you want to call it, but it's experiencing growth, right? What I'm saying is that there you don't show that there are very restricted regimes, but there, however they do it, they're making it work with the accounts they have, more or less, right? So obviously it's a terrible regime and whatever you want to call it, very repressed, whatever. But the economic part is the economic part, right? So that part, well, yeah. And to say that Nicaragua doesn't have resources, well, yes, it does. I mean, all countries do.
There's a reason why China is involved there.
Yeah, well, besides geographically, Nicaragua is in a really important country. I mean, it's a country in a really important position. So much so that China actually has this idea of doing a project kind of like the Panama Canal, right? I mean, come on, right there. Just imagine. I mean, Nicaragua is in this position right in the middle of Central America, between Costa Rica and Honduras, with access to the Pacific, access to the Atlantic, to the Caribbean Sea. No, it's ideal. Not every country needs oil to be wealthy, right?
I remembered when the president of Argentina, I can't remember his name, one who was there when Trump was president, who told the president of Argentina, why don't you take Uruguay? So that way he could have both sides of the ocean. I mean, that's Trump's way of thinking, right? Up to this point.
I mean, he wasn't talking to Argentina.
That's why Argentina. Oh, yes, he was talking to Argentina, asking why they didn't take Uruguay.
Not Chile. Why didn't they take Chile?
It was Chile, yes?
Chile?
Well, Chile, yes.
Yes, no, because here it's less.
Yes, right, it was Chile, sorry.
Sorry, yes, I was saying. It's just a small piece.
Take it.
It's just a little piece because maybe they won't take it all and that's it.
Well, good, bad, I mean.
That was the idea Trump proposed to the president of the first term, you know, with whoever was president of Argentina at that time. Not a former president.
Rather, yes.
A former president who met Trump and used to tell him that. But anyway, the thing is that, well, people like to comment. Whether it's about resources or something else, who do you think controls Venezuela's resources without making any bets? Well, Russia, China, and the United States too. By the way, they're still buying and taking oil from there, but now it's just without investment, right? I mean, they've forgotten about it there. The oil isn't developing, it's not generating anything. I mean, it's not generating anything like it should. Yeah, at the capacity it could generate, right? So just imagine having, well, multiple companies, not just from the United States, but from other countries too. Obviously, right? Yes.
I mean, the point
is for people to prosper, right? Right now, they're not even producing gasoline. I mean, they literally have to bring the gasoline from outside. Like, they send the oil out and bring it back so they can get some. I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, it's an issue. It's just mind-blowing.
Says Capixel. They should leave our hallway alone. And Marcela says, yes, Stroma, advising the Argentine, terrible. Yes, terrible.
Terrible.
How did you think of that? Hi, Lucia Escudero, how are you? Greetings as well, greetings. Rubrock says they already told him the whole series. Nothing. He sends greetings to Chris, says it didn't hook him, and he's at the end. Tell him that's how it is. Hello, Omar, how are you?
Greetings, Christy. No. The truth is that it started well, but it went downhill because, well, it lacked, let's say, the final punch. Like that, super over the top. Also, there were a lot of problems within the crew itself. Like, they weren't getting along that well. So, yeah, I feel like you can tell. I mean, it had kind of a weird vibe. The German series we really liked is Dark.
They put a lot into Dark, for example.
The good one had a slight touch of that theme, not that feeling. And it's like they toned down that part and made it a bit more pop, not more popular. And so it's like, okay, it's fine, you know? But the other one felt like, I mean...
I feel like it was always super popular.
No, but I feel like it had a touch. I'm not saying it was like that, it had a touch. No, well, obviously it was popular, but it had a touch. I mean, you could really feel the mystery. And in this one, well, not anymore, not at all. It's like, oh, well, chases and stuff, but without that more mental touch, right? And all that stuff about dimensions, all that part is just not there anymore. That's it. I'd rather see more of the character, the one with the teeth, the kid. Too, yeah. And this time, did it also bother you a bit that they made him so grumpy? Everything?
All bitter?
All a bit bitter? It didn't suit him. I mean, for me, he was the key to the character. I mean, the series, the one who represents the series. For me, for my taste and my style, he was the one who represented the series. Because, well, he's the one who truly likes mystery and is more deeply involved in it. But, well, that's what it is. Please watch Dark, because soon I'm going to do a special. Not about the series, but about something that certain authorities in the United States released. And it's related to the series Dark. It's really crazy, isn't it? I mean, yeah. If we think about objects and spaces, I tell you, it's cool. It's cool. The little light thing, the UFOs and all that. But there's a much deeper issue than what the little light does. And it has more to do with the topic of time, with the topic of dimensions and things like that. And that's what needs to be discussed. I like that just recently a very high-ranking authority from the United States mentioned the series Dark. So do you remember? Do they watch the series?
Yes, he made a strong comment.
Very strong. Yes, honestly, yes, it's very strong. If they watch the series, They'll understand what I mean.
Look at that dark portal. Just imagine. Greetings to. Omar says, no crazy war, no crazy spoilers. Pepe. What a crazy thing, right? Even though the dances, Maduro's jokes were what ultimately made Trump lose his patience. If he hadn't been so funny, because yes, he did win other people's hearts, but not Trump's.
I mean, even if you didn't like him, he made you laugh, yes.
He made you laugh?
Yes, I mean, he had that ability, exactly.
Pepe, I already know what happened with the Einstein case. It's not going to be Epstein. Well, there it is.
Yes, we'll keep talking about it.
That's why Venezuela also comes up to say we're not talking about the topic. Yes, he says greetings to this one too.
But we keep talking about it. Right now, the judicial branch is investigating 5 million extra documents, and suddenly a lot more documents are going to show up. People are extremely angry because information that should have been revealed wasn't, and some information that shouldn't have been revealed was, so everything is upside down. Currently, the issue is being handled poorly and much more information has surfaced. The case now has an overwhelming amount of information.
He says that it resonated with me when the song Purple Rain by Prince and Joshua came out. He says that's very true. Having money is not a problem. The problem is loving money. Greetings.
Greetings, how have you been? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, well, now...
It's not about the money, but rather the peace of mind it can give you for some things.
Someone was saying that it's not so much about the money, but rather the trouble that money brings. They said it's tribulation because it's a biblical term. Yes, a biblical term that means sorrow, torment, moral affliction, or anguish. Yes, but that also comes from poverty. In fact, I think poverty causes it even more than wealth does. I mean, tribulation comes from the attitude you have toward a situation, whether it's wealth or poverty, but more than poverty. For example, imagine not being able to feed your children. Obviously, that's going to cause you sorrow, tribulation, affliction, distress, as they say. But also, if it's handled poorly, any term of prosperity, that's what I have. I mean, there are people who get drunk, so to speak, even if they only have 3 pesos, right? But they find a way to get drunk just to say something, you know? It's not about having money, because if he did, that's how he'd spend his time. No, because some people will get drunk even without money. I mean, that's more about each person's maturity, but that maturity comes whether you have money or not. So the blame they put on money is actually more about the person, right? In any case, not exactly. This one says, they went over there too.
How embarrassing is it that Mexico's president, Claudia Chamba, requested Nicolas's release?
I haven't asked for it.
No. She said she didn't agree with the intervention. Let me check it. What's going on? It's just that, yes.
I haven't found that she said this yet, but... The request is for non-intervention in Mexico?
They have to say that. I mean, all countries have to say that. Because if you don't, you're opening up the possibility for someone to do it in your country.
Exactly. Not all countries. I mean, even the United Kingdom, France, Italy, basically, well, all the countries in Europe have been against the way. Although also, well, on the other hand, in favor of you staying where you are, right? Let that be clear too, right? But yes, well, the camera doesn't move over here, not over here. Yeah, just like that. Mercedes says the way they've been greeting each other at the Vatican, it's very tribal.
Very troubled, extremely troubled.
Just like Mercedes. Thank you for your support. He says money isn't everything, just 99% of it. This one says it's really good. There's a saying that goes, where they cry, that's where the dead person is, he says. It's strong but good, he says. This one, he says it's different to target someone who seized power like Maduro than to target a country with an elected government. Exactly. Very different, totally. That's why the Petros know that they're going to do it because of him. Yeah, it's like, this isn't it, none of that. It wouldn't be, I mean, the ideal. Not at all, because then you'd be getting into something that, well, doesn't exist. So then the sovereignty of any country wouldn't apply in that case. So the comments that Chairman has made so far, from what I've seen, have mostly been criticism. not to, well, the operation that's basically happened, the topic he's brought up, well, it's not just from him. I think it's, what's her name? Miley, for example, was the only one from Latin America who congratulated, saying congratulations.
And is Marylandia too?
Yes.
Marylandia just wants to score points right now.
Of course. And I always imagine the new FON he has in the White House. Not even with the good times. I mean, yeah, just imagine they're not gonna hire him. They'll just have him there for when they need him. Disc jockey, no, and well, they'll just have him there. Hi, how have you been? Lucia? Greetings to Panterita Wilco Farulos. Alex, how have you been? Very good. Maria Elena, how are you? Very good. He sends his regards. Well, me too. I kind of understand them like that. There's another ending missing. Greetings to everyone. Yes, that's right. Exactly. Greetings, Elena. Yes, I think there's another ending missing, and we'll see. We'll see how it ends.
Ada says Maduro's release hasn't been requested yet. Has the assault been condemned? What they're saying is that Mexico is moving diplomatically to try to stop Trump from making threats. Exactly. And Kat says only Venezuelans could complain about what Trump did, but in Chile, Venezuelans celebrated. Of course, exactly. Isn't it said that people who go fight against what the United States did look bad? And they start arguing with the Venezuelans who say it's good that they do it. We need it. It's really wrong for them to do that, to go and criticize the Venezuelans who accept it.
Yeah, no. I mean, here, for example, there were a few who didn't want to go protest to free Maduro. Venezuelans in Nuevo León, Monterrey quickly responded asking, "What are you saying?"
Yes. It was also seen in Puerto Rico. It was seen in different places where they had to argue with people, she says. Catherine. She says, for those who have to do it with solid evidence, not by presumption, that's the difference. Yes.
Hi, Catherine, how are you? Well, let's go.
Let's go, guys. Remember that we're on WhatsApp and we're on Telegram. That's where we send you the notifications. But we're also on Facebook, we're on X, and we're on Instagram. And I think that's it.
Well, yes. Awesome. Have a great night. Enjoy this little bit of the weekend. I think that now, like everyone starting this week, this Monday, is kind of getting started.
Well, the kids don't start classes until next week.
Until next week. There's still time, about an hour to a week and a half. So relax.
Thanks, Roblox, for the memberships.
Greetings, Roblox. Thank you so much. Greetings to Mercedes as well. Greetings to the whole community that supports us. A hug. And, well, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be here early. See you later. We interrupt your regular programming. Thanks for tuning in to The Truth. This is PP Live.
The truth is intense, pure. The unusual is real, pure. Here we analyze it. Global focus. Don't miss out. Tune in to the PP Live channel with PP controlling the signal and Astrid telling it like it is. Raw journalism. Here it's respected. Turn on notifications. Don't lose track until next time. Yes, sir.
We're taking attendance.
Subscribe. Live in the house.
Yes, sir.